Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of 30 Plus Click with Max and Yo-Yo. Before we go ahead and talk about what we're going to be sharing today, please like, subscribe, and share if you aren't already doing those things. We are on a push to 500, so we need your help to get there. So thank you in advance. For the past few weeks, we've been having conversations about relationships and love, and we've been talking about the Dating to Marry series. We're going to be pausing from that to pivot a little bit. But if you haven't seen those conversations, please go back and watch those episodes. I'm sure you would find them edifying. And when you do, please remember to comment some of the nuggets that you liked or some of the things that stood out to you. Let's get a conversation going because that is how we defeat the algorithm. But today we have a guest in the midst. She's a professional. She's a woman. She's wonderful. She's beautiful. I swear you guys need to see her. She's given and she stepped into the 30 Plus Click studios to basically drop some nuggets. We have the HR of MB Power. You see how it sounds in my mouth. It's not beans. We have Adedoyin Tope Daramola with us in the mix today, and she's going to blow your mind. So join me in welcoming Adedoyin. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for stepping into 30 Plus Quiz to speak with our audience, Ade.
Thank you very much, Max and Huyi, for having me as well. And thank you, everyone, for listening. And like she said, please subscribe and share as much as possible. I'm sure we're going to have a good time today.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you for that, free promo. And so I met Dedoyin through a LinkedIn connection because I'm a huge fan of LinkedIn. I love the way you just network and meet with people. And I also love the way you just learn little tips to make your professional journey better. And so I met her and I sent a friend request. She accepted, and I also sent a note to follow up. Adedoyin, from the HR perspective, what did that strike on your mind when you saw the notes and the friend request?
Because I'm an HR professional, I value LinkedIn connection. In a career space, I believe that, or I'm a firm believer that we need to always make connection because, it's either I'm making connection for my career progression or I'm making connection for support. I just want to see everyone thrive in their career space. I've done human resources for over 14 years, and I do not like when you're trying to connect with people and you're not connecting. So I just always find the time to ensure that I connect with. If I have a friend request, I connect. There's a message, or you've dropped a personal message to me. I will take my time, to sort of respond to that message. And it's not just like the regular auto response. I would, just look through what are you trying to say? How do I help, or how do I connect? Because I just want everybody thriving in the marketplace. That's basically.
Thank you very much for that. So today we're talking about career dynamics because the career journey is very different for everyone. Some might be in their home country, some might have migrated to another country and they're trying to begin a career journey, or they're trying to catch up where they stopped from the previous country. I met someone this week and she was like, I've done about 10 years in Nigeria and I just came to Canada. I need to catch up. I was like, okay, so chill, right? And so for those that have immigrated into another country, or for those that are still back home, what is that one summary word you would like to chip in before we dive into what we have to talk about today?
With everyone, whether you're back home, when you say back home, it's your terrain, and I'll say that career dynamics or whatever, everything that we'll talk about today, own your career. Now, a lot of things, so change is constant, and the world of work is changing. The traditional concept of my career is linear progression. I move from one level to another. It's changing. System changes. The way we work changes. The people that we work with possible. We have to be fluid enough. We have to be flexible enough. We have to be agile enough to always respond to that changes. And not just even respond, we have to be proactive to get ourselves ready for those changes. So that means we have to constantly be learning. We have to, just always be on the move. Don't be, we shouldn't just stay there and say, everything is working and then I just go with the flow. No, we always have to be, be dynamic. So whether you're at home, and then to make it, I won't say worse, if you're moving from your known terrain to a new place, there are a lot of things that you need to start learning. Understand your terrain. What works in this terrain? What do I need to change? How adaptable I am to this terrain? Do I even want to continue in the career that I was in when I was in back home? Or this is a new terrain. What is working? What is, it's a level playing ground. It's not even like way back home where everyone is looking at your degree or the kind of experiences that you have before, all of those things. This is a level playing field. What is obtainable here? To as simple as, how do I write my resume? What are they looking for? So those things are the things that we need to look at. So for people that just sort of immigrated to a new country, is it language? Is it the culture? Is the, their way of life, the way they do things, the way they see things, So those are the things that we need to start looking at as new immigrants.
Well, thank you so much for saying that. And I have a question, and you almost started to touch on my question. But before I say my question, I want to premise it by saying we're a small channel, but we're a growing channel. And as we continue to look on the people who are resonating with the content that we've been putting out so far, we realize that a lot of our audiences span from the US, the UK, Nigeria, Canada, India, South Africa, Germany, Ghana, Malaysia, Philippines, and so much more. But as you would agree with me, the world has become a global village. And the more the world becomes a global village, we see that people are moving up and down. I came from Nigeria myself, and I've been able to integrate in this Canada into the working space. For someone who is an immigrant, who has just landed in Canada, who is looking for their job, and who has been putting out applications and is trying to get a good job, or let's just say they're not trying to get a good job. Let's say they already have a job, but they're trying to level up. I wonder, what are some of the things that, as a HR personnel, that you look out for during the recruitment process or in the candidate as a whole?
Okay, so as an HR professional, if I'm looking through a resume, for instance, let me digress a bit so that we have some context to it. Like we have been told, like, apply for any job, apply for any role. So even if you don't have the right qualification for it, apply. But I've seen that it doesn't really work here. A lot of people would not take the time to say, okay, this is the role. I have to work my resume to align with the role. So I recall one of my mentors said, how many resumes do you have? And I said maybe like 5. And then she opened up her laptop and then she showed me a folder of resumes. She has about 200 resumes. She says, for every role I take my resume. I always say that looking for a job is also a job in itself. So we have to be actively in line with taking this job of looking for a job as a job in itself. So that's my number one. So what would I be looking out for every role is, if you are not close to the requirements of the role, or it's off all of your qualifications or what the thing that you can do, please don't apply for those kind of roles, because getting a no can be painful, especially when we're on the edge and we're looking to, get this role. Getting a lot of no's can, leave a bad taste in our mouth. So what would we be looking out for? How did you write your resume? I've seen an hiring manager say there's a lot of typo on this resume, and so I don't think this person is efficient. Let's take our time to look through every word, every sentence, how is your resume aligned? We'll look at all of those things. Then you begin to look at the qualification. Do you have the right qualification for this role? If you have it, then that's a +1. Do you have the right key functions? Or if they say that for every role they put these are the key functions of the role, can you do it? If I look through your resume, can I pick out these key functions from the things that you've done? So in looking at, so for instance, in HR, if I'm looking for an HR officer, even though I've done HR business partnering before, I can tweak it because it's still within HR role. So if I'm applying for maybe an HR officer role, instead of saying my job title before was HR business partner, I'm going to tweak it to align with what I'm looking for, human resource officer. And then look at the key functions, ensure that I infuse those key functions into my key responsibilities, things that I've done before. So those are those sort of things are things that we need to be conscious of when we're writing our resume or applying for a job. Ensure that you are tweaking your resume to sort of align with that particular specific role, so you don't get a no. At least you go through the first level of getting your resume shortlisted for you to move on to the interview stage.
Thank you so much for that. And I know myself, I'm benefiting from it because, again, we're all in the working space. So if you are listening to us right now, this is a HR person and she's giving you like an insider tip of what is going on, what is the mind of a HR or a recruiter as they go through your resume. So I hope that you're finding these nuggets useful. But then to my question, we are in a very technological era. Mm-hmm. There is, in recent times, the emergence of AI technology. And of course, many job applicants have been or may have been tempted to use or to utilize the skills of AI to try to optimize their resumes in a way that they are trying to stand out. I wonder if using AI to optimize your resume is in of itself detrimental. That's the first question from a HR perspective. And I wonder what HRs think, when they see resumes that may or may not have been, or let me say it like this. I wonder what HR thinks about, AI and applicants coming together to produce a resume in terms of resume optimization.
Okay, so those things are, if I always say that AI is your friend, but you need to know how to use AI. Do I use AI? Oh yes, sometimes I do, but AI is giving you, this is it, but do you pick it and then make it life, make it human, retweak it to suit you as a person and not AI, right? Retweak it to speak your own language, retweak it to ensure that it is me, like if you pick up my resume, dude, I've gotten pointers from AI, but this resume reflects my person, reflects who I am, because I've been able, I mean, I sat down with it and I've been able to reach. It's just like you see people using AI to do, oh, thank you for the interview, blah, 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 blah. So if I see all of those blocks, I literally will say, oh, this one, you just copied and then copied something in AI, maybe ChatGPT or whatever it is, and then just pasted it. You didn't own it, you didn't make it your own. Do you understand? So I'm not saying AI isn't your friend. Use AI, but you need to have the ability to then take whatever AI has generated and then make it you. Because if AI would give you the best possible, persona or the face that you want this role to be in. If you scale through the screening stage and you want to be interviewed, how do you defend yourself? So those are the questions that we need to should have at the back of our mind when you're using AI to generate, your resume, just so that you can align with this particular role. And another thing that I've encountered recently as well is, even whilst you're trying to, ensure you're trying to apply for different roles, do you have a LinkedIn page? Because I know someone that said, oh, this resume I just went on LinkedIn and I said, this resume does not reflect who you are on LinkedIn. Who are you exactly? Because on LinkedIn, you have these specific roles and here you have this specific role. So that's why I said that we have to really be careful. You can have career change, fantastic, but ensure that wherever all of your names are or wherever your profiles are, it sort of aligns with, what you're doing.
Oh, nice. Thank you so much, Adedoyin, for those wonderful insights. I've actually been taking notes, and so they are very valuable points. Thank you. But one thing, I want to take you back a little bit. You said you've had about 14 years of HRO experience. So looking back to the country where you're coming from and also practicing that HRO in the North America space, are there significant difference from putting your leg in the house, like submitting your resume and how to get your resume in the right door, and also the way people in other countries craft their resume, from their names to the profile statement to the highlights and everything? Are there significant difference in this North America space or in other countries, comparing it to Nigeria where you've practiced before?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we have some similarities, but it is different. I'll start from the resume. As an HR officer in Nigeria, I want to read everything about you on your resume. And I recall that my resume in Nigeria was about 5 pages. All my training, all of the roles I was doing, everything was in there. And then I came in here and it was like, oh, you have to summarize your resume into 2 pages, because if it's getting too long, it becomes confusing. And I've always said these interviews is like the me when I'm on a panel, I am quick to, because that's part of diversity and inclusion, to start explaining to panelists to say, you see where we came from, it's sort of different. When we're interviewing in Nigeria, we get to talk about, and we say everything as a team, start explaining. And if I was on a panelist in Nigeria, that is a kudos, like, oh, this person is a big talker. They took their time to, explain what they're doing and all of that. But here, if you don't answer your question in 1 minute, you lose their, I mean, it's like short attention span. I won't say short attention, they just want you to go straight to the point. What was the issue? Like using your star method, what's the situation, what did you do? What was the task? What was the result? You should just be very fast and very brief, whatever it is that you want to say, and get their attention with a 1 minute answer. But I've seen that play out a lot. Like when someone is grabbing mute here, and I'm using Canada here, and then you just go on and on and on and on and on. I'm like, and I'm looking at their faces. You've lost them, because they're trying to give a lot of examples. And let me just, sorry that I'm taking your time. But these are the things that I've seen that, and for me as a Nigerian, sometimes I can ask, like, can I call them later? So just so that they know, the things that they didn't do right, sometimes I make those calls to people, or sometimes I say to the hiring manager to say, this is a cultural difference. In Nigeria, this will be like a go-go. You need to talk, you need to explain yourself, you need to, give a lot of examples. So sometimes I educate them in that manner to say, when you see a Nigerian and, because I hear comment like, I got lost. I can't even remember what, it was just too much, And then I make that explanation, and then I say, oh, I was picking notes. They said this, but these are the things that we need to start learning as new immigrants. What's the culture like? What do I do better? And another thing that I'm gonna say is, in Nigeria, they won't send you questions ahead. That is fantastic. Here, they send you questions ahead. But in sending you questions ahead, what I've also noticed is, it's easy. It's what I would do if you send me questions is maybe probably go and try to browse and try to sort of get myself prepared. I've gone on the internet and all of that. But again, sending questions, if you're answering those questions, we can easily spot that you don't own that. It's not you. You just have to say, this person went on the internet to pick these answers. They don't own it, So they sent you a question, and these are the pointers that, and I'm glad for this podcast. I mean, you and Master guys are doing, a great job. And I pray, for me, is a lot of people who would listen to this is own that thing. They send you a question instead of saying, and I'm going to give an example. What are the steps in project management? And you go, step 1 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's wrong. You're not owning it. But if you say, oh, I recall when I I'm just going to give an example of when I handled this project. The first step that I did was I spoke to the hiring manager. I don't know if you can sort of see the difference in the first way I said, these are the steps in blah, 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 or, so it's owning, it is just going directly to the point and showing confidence and just very short, but very impactful answers.
Doing, thank you so much. But on behalf of 30PLUSCLIQUE and its community, we are appealing that would require another part two to stretch it.
No problem.
To stretch it a little bit because it's so packed, and what you're sharing, it's very beneficial to both people in Nigeria, in Canada, in America, in wherever you are. So it's very useful tips, and also for navigating from one job to another job. We'll be talking more about this on our next episode. So thank you so much for joining us today. We really value your time. We thank you for the nuggets that you have shared and how you just went so real, giving examples, and we will share with you the feedback we get from our 30PLUS community. And to our listeners, thank you so much for joining us on another series today. Watch out for part 2, Career Dynamics part 2. We will be bringing back to Doing, and she will be reloading on different strategies and tips to help you make that career progression. We are asking that we want you to please subscribe to our channel. Don't just watch our shorts. Please click the subscription button and also share. Give a comment, ask your questions, we'll be back with answers. And we wish you a wonderful weekend and have a beautiful week ahead.
Bye.
Bye.